Okay, it's a trip down memory lane with some of your favorite TV stars from the 70s. Stay with us. You came by at a really good day. We're going to meet some of your favorite TV stars from the 70s. You know, some pretty dramatic events have taken place in their lives since the cameras stopped rolling on their series. And we're going to hear their stories firsthand, plus some very special surprises are in store. You know us. We love this element of surprise. Now, do you remember the show 8 is Enough? All right? The Bradfords. Well, actress Susan Richardson, who played Susan Bradford on the show, is here. But what Susan doesn't know is that Dick Van Patten, who played her father on the show, is going to surprise her, and they haven't seen each other in about 2 years. And I've got a crush on him. Well, hey, I'm allowed. Over the past few months, Hollywood has lost two of its brightest TV stars from the 70s. There was Michael Landon from Little House on the Prairie, who touched a great many of us with his work. And, of course, he also touched his co-star, actress Alison Arngrim, who played Nellie Olson on the series. She's here, and she's going to share with us her memories of Michael Landon. And then there's actor Red Fox of the 70s hit TV show. I know he was doing one when he passed on, but remember Sanford and Son, and he passed away a few weeks ago. Well, the woman who played Aunt Esther, LaWanda Page, is here, and she's going to talk about really what Red Fox meant to her. And later we're going to catch up with other stars from the 70s, including Thelma from Good Times. We're going to find out what she's up to. Let me introduce my first guest. He played Darren, Samantha's husband, on Bewitched. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dick Sargent. They got
beautiful.
that.
Beautiful.
They really did.
I was so afraid to say Dick York. Boy.
Do people do that?
Oh, yeah, it happens every day.
All the time?
I did the show for 5 years. I did it for 3. Yeah, it happens. I expect that. You know, just if they know the face, I'm lucky.
Lucky you had the same first name, right?
So that helped. Probably
Yeah.
saved time on changing the cards for the billing and stuff, yeah.
Now, let me just get serious for a moment. 2 weeks ago, you decided to go public with a secret that you had been keeping for a long time. And we thought that that would be a pretty interesting way of us discussing you and your life in the 70s. What was that secret?
I came out, I think, as the first living, at least American actor, admitting that I'm a gay man, of which I'm very proud because I'm a member of a good group of people. And it's time that we had role models that weren't, you know, the few that we have. When I was first out in Hollywood, we had the rumor that Rock Hudson was gay. We talked about Michelangelo and Walt Whitman, but that's really kind of not current, you know?
Yeah, really.
And the gay and lesbian suicide rate among young people is 3 times what it is for straight kids. And I found out all these things, and it's been building up in my mind for about 2 years. I think I'm I kind of represent the square, family-type man on television. And I think that maybe it's a shock to some people that there are gays and lesbians right now portraying that same kind of thing, and nobody knows it. And I want people to know that we're just people, and we're everywhere. We're on the hockey rink, we're in the stands. We're, we're here. We're 10% at least of the population.
Can you go back for me, because there are a lot of people who, especially younger people, who were not aware of what it must have been like. Let's go to you and playing Elizabeth Montgomery in Bewitched. Did she and her husband know you were gay?
I think so. I had a lover for 20 years who passed away 12 years ago of a cerebral hemorrhage. And when he was alive when I started on the show, and we used to play tennis with Liz and her husband, and they would come over for Christmas, and we'd be over to their house for Christmas or whatever, and we've remained friends, Liz and myself, and in fact we're even closer now. So it wasn't really it was a strain in if the sponsor, on a sponsor level,
Yeah, I was
they
going
ever
to
knew
ask,
about it.
did the other people in the cast care or think?
I don't think
or
anybody cared.
No,
you know?
okay.
I don't think
then
anybody
the sponsors
today should.
did care?
I think they still will. I don't think I'll work too much, but to me this is, boy, it's the first, I never thought I'd end my quote, golden years. I hate that. As a gay activist, but that's what I'm going to be. And I'm, besides my charity work for Special Olympics and Best Buddies, this is what I'm going to be doing, and I'm proud and happy to do it.
One of the ways that Dick got through this was you put a fake marriage on your bio.
Oh yeah, we all do.
You
know?
invented a wife that didn't exist, and what you said you were divorced, so that got you through a bit.
They kind of excuse not being married at the age whatever, you know, and you had to do, in fact still have to do with a lot of people, invent things like that. There are a lot of known lesbians and gays who invent or have actual dates with and romances, supposedly, according to the trash papers. And we all know it's a phony, and I wish they would stop it and just come out and say, this is what I am, now let's get on with our lives.
But you would not have been able to do that in your time. And also suffered depression because of what?
I think most gay and lesbian people have that, because if you're taught from birth that you're not worth keeping alive, you know, which is really what we go through. You're taught you're a third-class citizen. The church tells you you're a terrible human being who's going to go to hell. Your parents are disappointed because you're not going to get married and have kids. There's a million things every day that just beat you down and down and down. And that's what I'm hoping I can help some people alleviate in their lives. I made peace with myself a long time ago. I considered my relationship with my lover who's deceased a marriage. It was a monogamous existence, and I lived for that relationship. I've had a few relationships since, but I think we all have one big romance in our lives.
It went on how long?
20 years.
20 years.
And we were, you know, exceedingly happy and shared every moment of our lives. And I'm very happy and proud that I had that. But I've made peace with that in my life. But in spite of that, you have to make up the phony marriages and stuff and play the game socially. And if I went to an opening, I would have to take a lady with me. Now I'm not sure who I'm going to take.
However, you do feel that there's still this feeling on television and that you would not work. Yeah. And I think that's kind of sad. I want to ask each one of our guests, those movies, Bewitched, how much do you get? Can you live the rest of your life having been the husband on Bewitched?
How do you mean, financially?
Financially,
I don't get a dime from it.
You don't get any?
No. Those old contracts, we got 10 residuals, and that was paid off about 18 years ago. Doesn't that hurt? My last check was $13.75, I think.
Okay, so, you know, that's part of it. We hear about these salaries. This past year, America lost two of television's most beloved actors from the 70s, Red Fox and Michael Landon, and their co-stars are going to pay them a special tribute. More with Dick, too, when we return.
Taking a trip down memory lane with TV stars from the 70s. We've already met Dick Sargent from Bewitched, and later we're going to check in with stars from Good Times, Little House on the Prairie, and 8 is Enough. First, let's go back. Year 1971, show was the biggest new hit of the season, Sanford and Son. It starred the veteran comedian Red Fox as the cantankerous junk dealer Fred Sanford. Hollywood is still mourning the recent loss of Red Fox, and here to pay tribute to him is the woman who played his sister-in-law in Sanford and Son. Please welcome LaWanda Page. Boy, is she a trooper. LaWanda, before we do a little serious tribute to Red Fox, I have to ask you, and this is the same question I asked Dick, I'm going to ask everyone. One day, you're on a hit television series, okay, and the next day, you're not. What's it like?
Sal, I'm going to tell you the truth. It's like hell. See, the money is funny and the change is strange. It's like hell when one day you're making it, one day you're rich, the next day you're poor. You know, Sally, I've been so poor that the roaches in my house had to move to a better neighborhood.
Fox died just a few weeks ago. Can you tell me about him from your perspective? I know he's an important person to you because he really gave you that big break.
Yes, he did. He gave me the big break, and he's a very important person to me. At least he was and still is, because he's gone but not forgotten.
When you met him, well, I mean, when the time came to do Sanford's Son, because you'd met him before, I guess, but
I went to school with him.
You were in St. Louis,
in
right?
In St. Louis.
But it was a time when you and your mother were pretty broke. You needed that job, is I guess what I'm saying.
That's when the roaches moved to a better neighborhood.
That's when the roaches moved.
That's when I was so poor, yeah. My mother and I, we were very poor, and I was staying home to take care of my mother. I'm just going to quit show business because I want to take care of Mother. And I had been working with a comedy team called Skillet and Leroy. And we worked together for 15 years. And, of course, Red worked along with us, too. This is a nightclub. And one Saturday night, Skillet called me and asked me to come to the Parisian room, that's the club they were working at the time, to do the show with them. Because all of the shows that we did together, everything was built around me, because we did skits. And so it was just limited to what Skillet and Leroy could do together. So he begged me to come over, and I went.
And the man in the audience saw you,
Aaron
suggested
Rubin,
you
the
for the show.
Right.
And when you went down there, they weren't thrilled, were they?
When I went down where?
To do the audition for the show.
To do the audition for...
I heard you read the stage directions when you're supposed to be reading your line.
Well, when I went... Yeah, I did. Well, Red called me like 3 o'clock in the morning. He says, come on, I want you to come to the studio and play the part of my sister-in-law. I said, man, I ain't playing no part of no sister-in-law. No, I'm not coming. And so he begged me, and I went. And then when I got down to rehearsal hall, and they're reading the script, because, see, I had never read a script before. That's my first time. And I was reading the directions along with the lines. Yeah, that's right. You know, for instance, I say, watch it, sucker, and she walked out the door.
You know, you can't ask anything. You can't ask anything more than that another performer lay down his job for you. And there was a time when they were going to fire you, and he said, if she goes...
Well, you see, that's right. I was on the set for about a week. We were rehearsing for a week. We was taping on Tuesday nights then. Comes Friday, the producer said, well, Red, we have to let her go because she's not what I thought she was. So Red said, well, if she go, I go. Then I knew then that Red was in my corner. But before then, Sally, every time we sit down to read the script, and when it comes the time for me and Red to read together, Red would get up and leave the table. So I didn't have, a chance to rehearse with him. I don't know how I did as well as I did. Just help the good Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
When Red Fox died, he left something in his will
Red was in my corner. I knew he was in my corner because we had worked together in nightclubs before.
Right.
But I knew he was in my corner. And the reason why Red would get up and leave the table is because he wanted me to get it on my own. He was giving me the courage to do this,
I just think it's so wonderful to hear positive stories about people. Now, just hold for a minute. He left you something in his will. What was it? What did he leave you?
Yeah, he left me over a hat.
A hat?
A hat. And it sounds funny, but really, I'm serious. It means a lot to me. And I went to his funeral. And at his funeral, this girl that worked for Red, Yeah, excuse me. She came to me and she said, Miss Page, she said, I worked for Red a long time. She does landscaping. She said,
let me get you something. Would you want to hold for a minute?
no, I want to get it over.
Are you sure?
Thank you.
That's not the way to talk about my show, that you want to get it over.
No, I don't mean your show over. I mean I want to get what I got to say. I want to get it over. That's what I mean. Okay. No, I love your show. I watch you every day.
Well, wait. Let me tell you something. There is a woman whose name is Carolyn Milligan, and she knew that you would be with us today. And she asked me to give you this from Red. Would you just bring that down? There it is. Oh, there you go. Now, this hat says, can I put it on you? I don't do that too well. It says courage.
Yeah, this
What's
means
this?
everything in the world to me.
This is...
because he gave me courage.
This is really going to make you cry, too. I don't mean to do
Oh,
this,
my
but
God.
these are all the memories. It's a special book with all the... with all the red fox. That's okay. Really?
Yeah.
You all right? You sure? You okay? Tell you what, I'll go on to something else and just hold for a minute there, because I know how difficult. I didn't mean to upset you. A few months ago, another popular television entertainer passed away, Michael Landon. He had a number of television projects, but he's going to be remembered for his long-running series, Little House on the Prairie. And joining us now is an actress who co-starred with Landon for 7 years. She played little Nellie Olson when she was 11 years old. She's all grown up now, and here to pay tribute to Michael Landon, welcome Alison Arngrim. I just thought you'd like to have that book. I mean, it's so important. I just thought you'd like to have it.
This is very important to me.
Now, you've gone on with your career, haven't you? You're going to do something in Philadelphia. We'll talk about that. I'll give you a moment to hold on. Allison, you were 11 when you joined the cast of Little House on the Prairie. What memories do you have of working with Michael Landon?
Well, the best way I can describe being on Little House on the Prairie, it was sort of a 7-year frat party.
Really?
Really, and Michael was the head frat brother. It really was. He had an incredible sense of humor. I mean, my earliest memory was really, I guess, the live frogs in the mouth.
The what?
Well, Michael had this thing that he would occasionally do, especially like if women were on the set who had a crush on him or anything, would take a live frog or a lizard and just pop it in the corner of his mouth, because we had a lot of little ones on location, just get it right in the edge there, and then come up behind people and tap them on the shoulder and go, hi, and let it leap out.
Oh.
This was very popular. He liked to do that.
You know, you don't think of him as being a practical joker.
Well, something to keep in mind is, okay, I was Nellie Olson. I was this vicious, awful, terrible person, did all these things, but, you know, I didn't make that stuff up. Michael was writing a lot of the scripts and was also directing the shows. So if you keep it in mind that while I was doing all those things to Laura and beating her up, that it was Michael Landon who was off to the side yelling, hit her again, this is the mind that we're talking about here.
Where or how did you hear about his passing on?
Well, I was at my office. I work with a program called Tuesday's Child in Los Angeles. We work with children with AIDS, and I was at work, and interestingly enough, I had an interview already set that day with Entertainment Tonight, and they were on their way up in the elevator when I heard that he had died, and I was on the phone with Melissa about the time they showed up, and I just found it literally minutes before the interview, and it was very weird because they kept saying, well, was he this and was he that? And I said, you know, he's only been dead 30 minutes. Could we not use the past tense for just a second here?
Sure. That's so hard, isn't it?
It's a little quick.
A little quick. What happened since that show to you?
What have you been doing?
Well, first of all, I got old.
No. No, you didn't.
Aged rapidly
You
here.
got lovely is what happened.
You got lovely.
Thank you. Oh, I'll take it. Well, you know, it's not hard to be better looking than Nellie Olson, of course. Not really difficult. Well, I got to do a lot of things. I did the usual Love Boat and Fantasy Island and dinner theater, and I got to travel. Since then, I've gotten married, and 3 years next spring, and I've gotten very involved with AIDS. If you watch the show, you may remember the guy who played my husband on the show, Percival, played by Steve Tracy. He died of AIDS in 1986. He was about 32. And we were very good friends, and I was put in a very strange position of here, this guy was married to on TV, has AIDS, and he went very public with his diagnosis. And I had to do something. I had to get information for myself and to help other people. And now I've done a lot of things with the AIDS Project in Los Angeles, as well as Tuesday's Child.
And she has her own cable show. Still to come, stars from the 70 hits Good Times and 8 is Enough. Plus, more surprises. We'll be right back.
Listen, don't say anything. I'm here as a surprise. I played Susan Richardson's father on 8 is Enough. I haven't seen her for 2 years. She doesn't know I'm here, so don't say anything. I'm going to surprise her. It's going to be so much fun. Watch how excited she gets. She likes me a lot, I hope.
One of the fun things in my job is that I get to tell people things I have no business telling them. For example, I think that LaWanda, who does stand-up comedy, and Alison, who is very funny and does stand-up comedy, they should consider them both for Saturday Night Live. Now that I've taken care of that, time for trivia again. Take a look at this picture. What show is this?
Good Times.
Good Times, okay. And it has been 12 years since the series ended. The woman who played Thelma
Was... Oh, God, I can't remember her name. BernNadette Stanis.
There you go. Please welcome BernNadette Stanis. Yay! Getting everybody these jobs in my head. BernNadette played Thelma for 5 years on Good Times, and when the show ended, had a hard time getting work. We were talking about jobs. What happened?
I think that because I was so identified with Good Times and Thelma, it hampered me from getting work. Commercials, people would say, "No, we won't see the product. We see Thelma." So a serious drama, they would say, "No, that's Thelma." So, like, why? Wait. I'm an actress, that's a character. But
so what have you been doing since?
I've been very, very busy since then. I've been teaching dance and acting. I've been in a lot of plays. I was in the living room in Los Angeles. I produced Roommates in Los Angeles. I'm now producing a play called Willie and Esther at the 47th Street Theater. It opens the 7th of November through the 24th.
And did you get married?
Yes, I got married and have a daughter, Dior Val. She's the joy of my life.
See, when I said a lot of things have changed, who do you keep in touch with from the show?
In fact, not too long ago, I just called John Amos last week, and I do speak with Esther Rose sometimes, and I call her mom. Still call her mom, yeah.
In 1976, America was introduced to the Bradford family. For 5 years, we were glued to the set. We were watching 8 is Enough. Please welcome one of the daughters in the Bradford clan, actress Susan Richardson. Look at you.
So much love, and I thank you. It's been a long time.
When 8 is Enough came to an end, you, like BernNadette, also had kind of a tough time getting parts. In fact, you had to be hospitalized for a bout of severe depression. We were talking with Dick about his depression, and he said he was
at one point almost suicidal. What was that time like for you?
Well, after Age Enough, like I said, it was hard to get work, and the first thing I was offered was a big film in South Korea and involved children's charities. I was very excited about it. I was approached by people from the 8th Army to go over there, because I used to do a lot of work with Michael Jackson for children. And when I got there, they were doing sex films, and I witnessed a young girl raped on camera and tiny children beaten, and they had taken a life insurance policy out on my life, and I couldn't get home for 6 months. But when I did get home, I was like 80 pounds, extremely ill, and all my friends in Hollywood, except for Dick Van Patten and Laurie Walters on the show, I came back, and it was a very controversial thing, because it was at the time of the Olympics. No one wanted anything to do with me, and I had no money because everything had been sold while I was gone just to get me home. And I went to Dick Van Patten's house, a filthy mess, no hair, just devastated, and he just put in his pocket, gave me $500, same way as one of the other girls on the show. And that's the kind of people that were on my show. But I found that in Hollywood, the friendships are only last as long as your job.
Oh, I don't know. There's some pretty wonderful people. What happened in South Korea, though? Was it the idea to lure you over there?
They lured me over there, and they used my passport. They took my passport from me, and they kept bringing in very expensive camera equipment with a lot of money in it. And when I wanted to leave, they said, you have to leave the country with all the camera equipment you brought in. I never took any camera equipment into that country. And just money was being smuggled, and I don't know what else. But it was 6 months of pure hell. And my mom finally had to go to the White House and send an attorney over there, and we still had to run for our lives. It was...
That's an amazing story. Has that story been told?
Well, I've been on Larry King before, but because it involved some government officials, my family and I were pretty quiet, told that we should just not mention who we saw and what happened over there.
And you were told keep quiet?
Yes.
I said that the people that we were talking to today have had some pretty traumatic things happen in their lives, but that's
But I tell you, it taught me a lot. I met some South Koreans who didn't speak a stitch of English. The Christian community over there is absolutely incredible. A lot of Americans were afraid to help me because they're in a foreign country, but these people who spoke no English took me into their villages and hid me and kept me safe. But it's just all I wanted to do for 6 months. I reestablished my relationship with God, and I wanted my family, and I wanted my little girl. For a year, she was afraid to let me go to the store. I was only supposed to be gone 3 weeks, and it was 6 months. And for a year, it was like, "You coming back, Mommy? You coming back?" And my mother had a nervous breakdown over it, too. And all I wanted to do after that was come home. And that's I'm in Salisburyville in the Amish country, and these people love me for me. They loved me when I was 4, and they love me now.
So the Hollywood scene is not anything that you want to be part of. You live near where I live, don't you?
Yeah.
In Lancaster, down to Lancaster over.
Right.
That's the way they talk.
I wouldn't say that everybody in Hollywood, but it's I thought people loved me because I was charming and cute. The people out there that I met loved me because I had money and because I could get them somewhere in Hollywood. And when I had nothing, it was like all the backs were turned. And it's like that, I think, a lot for a lot of teen stars. Your show is canceled. All of a sudden, you're not invited to parties. You show up at a party, and the paparazzi who used to get paid $1,000 for a picture of you now don't even want to take a picture of you. Right. And you can't even get on a game show because you don't have a show that you're promoting.
You have to promote something. Let's take a look at some film. And if you will explain to us, this is Lifestyle Now, the positive part.
This is where I grew up, and this is what I wanted my daughter to grow up. And this is a duck pond where we used to ice skate, and I live in an Amish community. And these people are wonderful and make homemade pumpkins and things, and everything is so quiet. A traffic jam there is 2 buggies and a car. It's much less stressful lifestyle.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing it. More surprises when we return. Don't go away! We're back talking with TV stars from the 70s, Dick Sargent from Bewitched, LaWanda Page from Sanford and Sons, Alison Arngrim from Little House on the Prairie, and BernNadette Stanis from Good Times. By the way, BernNadette has done a poster that is, if you see it in the stores, don't be angry with me for not telling you about it. It's like, wow.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. And Susan Richardson from 8 is Enough. Susan, when we put word out that we were going to do this show, there was somebody who really wanted very much to see you. So we invited him to stop by and surprise you. Your TV dad, Tom Bradford, 8 is Enough. Would you all welcome Dick Van Patten?
yet. No, I'm going to.
I had no idea you were here when I said that.
I've been hiding and everything.
You can hear it backstage.
I was asleep as you said that.
Do you happen to have an extra $500?
I must add, she paid me back right away.
Well,
that was not a setup. I thought Howard Stern was dropping by. I did not say those things about Dick because I knew he was here. I adore him.
We were very good friends. Actually, she was my first friend on 8 Is Enough because when I got the job, they had 8 children. I had to memorize all the 8 children's names. Plus, I had to memorize their real names. I was getting all mixed up, except the one that was easy to remember was Susan because she played Susan. So it was very easy for me to talk and everything, and she told me all about the Amish country. I remember the first day that I was in there shooting, because I didn't know much about Amish people, and I was fascinated. And she comes right from that country and everything, and she told me all about it and everything, and we were real good pals.
This is a great reunion.
Isn't it great? You know, Dick has been on 7 television series, so we can just plug him into any show we're doing.
That's right.
But the cast of 8 Is Enough was very special, was it not?
They really were. You know, mainly I was a child actor, and I grew up as an actor on a TV series called I Remember Mama, and I was the teenage son on that. So, you do? Oh,
now wait. I remember Mama, and they were Scandinavian.
That's right.
And what era was that?
Peggy, we went on the air in 1949, and we went off the air in 1957. It was on for 8 years, and I played the part of Nels. But growing up in a TV series, I had a lot in common with Susan and the other kids because they were doing the exact same thing that I had done. They were growing up in a TV series.
And Dick was very, I think, important to the success of the show because it's so easy when you're a kid all of a sudden get famous and to just get real cocky and obnoxious. And Dick always took us aside and said, this is here today, could be gone tomorrow. Dick was always so wonderful with his fans, always had that time for anybody, and he taught us that.
I feel that I learned at an early age. I mean, enjoy it because it's not going to last forever. And so enjoy it while you're doing it and don't complain. Right?
But it really
has. That right there. It ain't gonna last forever. It don't last long enough.
Incidentally, that segment with LaWanda, all the segments were wonderful, but that was one of the most touching things I've ever seen on TV. I was watching in the green room. Gee, that was a lovely, lovely segment. You did.
She doesn't think of her life as a segment.
I'm sorry, but I couldn't help it.
Red Fox had the same birthday as me, December the 9th. We had the same birthday.
That's right, December the 9th.
And I was with Red about 15 years ago in Vegas when he hit the Keno. He won $50,000. I was next to him when he hit it.
I remember.
I want you to tell me about the last 8 Is Enough reunion show, which was an 8 Is Enough wedding.
It was an 8 Is Enough wedding. It was 2 years ago, and I haven't seen Susan since then. And the whole idea was the Bradford family all comes to home from all the different places for the oldest boy's wedding, you know, and they all come back with their husbands and wives. And do you remember who played your husband?
His son.
My son, Jimmy Van Patten. And when he heard that Susan was on the show, Jimmy said, I want to come there too.
And what a fox. Oh,
and
the
guess what?
thing.
Guess what? Somebody's here to say.
No! No!
We're going to have to... You played Susan's husband on 8 Is Enough, the reunion show, which was 1989. What was it like to be a newcomer to the cast?
I'll tell you, for me, it was a lot of fun because growing up, watching the show every Wednesday night, I used to love the show, and also my real father being on the show, playing the father of all these kids, I sort of felt as if it was sort of like another family that I had. So being on the show, and I got to know them a little bit. I'd come on the set once in a while.
Gosh, you look like your dad.
Really? Well, that's because I read to play his son originally for the show, and they said, geez, it was a great reading, but we just don't think you look enough like your father. And, you know, they're talking about this business, you know.
Somehow that makes some kind of strange sense in show business. Well, we have other special things that we want to do, so let us take a break and we'll be right back. James is in The Chisholms?
Well, no, The Chisholms was a series that I did about, 8 years ago, or maybe 9 years ago now.
Played Robert Preston's son.
Robert Preston was my father. Rosemary Harris was my mother. We were in it was a wagon train saga. We went across the country. Originally, it was a miniseries, an award-winning
But
miniseries.
I've seen you in a movie recently. I was wondering if it was a Chisholms rerun or what.
A movie recently. I'm now in the Mel Brooks movie, Life Stinks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, because I would have sat around going.
Hi, I have a question for Susan, BernNadette, and Alison. Being up there and then being down, if your daughter or your children, when you have children, were offered a hit series, would you let them do it?
I would.
Even though you felt...
It's not, I don't feel like I fell. You know, that was something that I did in my life, and I'm moving on, I'm continuing to do. And it depends on how you perceive it, depends on how you train your child to accept it and handle it. It's the parenting, I think.
As I'm saying this, my husband is going to be sitting at home going, oh, really? So, yeah, absolutely. I find that amongst my friends who've had real problems since leaving a series, a lot of their problems are things that were the matter before they got a show. Being on a series can amplify your problems. It gives you more money to mess up your life with.
I wonder. I wonder.
And I would like to add something to your question there. You know, it's not hard to get up there. It's just hard to stay up there. See, once you get there, if you can't stay up there and hang on, then you go down. That's the hard part.
I wonder if I know this will make it a little serious, but BernNadette has had a very dreadful thing happen to her.
Yes, okay. In May 29th, my father died. He didn't just die. My brother, Gregory Sanford, and all my brothers and sisters, there are 5 of us, are working on, we have an organization called Youth United to Save the World. You see, my dad was murdered. He was murdered. We found out that a group of young fellas, about maybe 16 to 18, 19, I don't know, hit him from behind, hit him in his head. And someone reported that they saw him go down and they saw him get right back up, because my father had a body of a 19-year-old. He was 66. My daddy was on it. So he got right up, you know, and he came home. It was a Saturday, and that Sunday, he said he had a pain in his eyes, and the next thing we knew, he was talking to me. I said, Daddy, what's wrong? Where's the pain? He said, in the back of my head. And he went out in a coma, and he never really came back. That same night, he had to have a major operation. I mean, we're like, what? You know, we went out and bought him his sneakers because he was taking his trip to the West Indies with my mom. And, I mean, you know, to go through something like that, you have to realize, you know, the youths of today have to realize that older people belong to somebody. They're not just old people that you can hit and get away with it, or hit and disregard them.
But it's very important that the Stanis family is trying to turn that around.
We're trying to turn that around and to teach young people to respect and to love our older people, take care of them, because they belong to somebody.
Sure.
I'm here.
To that, I wanted to add something to that, Sally, if it's okay. One of the reasons I came out is because I'm realizing more and more, we all are every day, is the world is too small to hate anybody.
That's right.
Well, I'm here primarily because I'm a big fan of Dick Sargent and Bewitched. We're trying to get the Nickelodeon network to put it back on the air. And in light of your...
shows.
Yeah, we're trying to get them to do it. In light of your recent coming out, if someone were to offer you a role in a network series as a gay character, do you feel any special responsibility in that?
Yeah, I do. It would have not to be a caricature. What I said the other day, I'm probably never going to work again. Somebody said, "Oh, they're writing gay people on television." I thought, no, I can play more than that, I think.
Isn't that absolutely ironic? Yeah. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to meet the young lady. Now, let's see if I can do this. The young lady that Susan was pregnant with on the series 8 is Enough. In other words, her daughter. Stay with us. Okay, let me explain that Jim Van Patten's brother Vincent is the one that plays tennis, and we had some women who were willing to take you to lunch, but you're not the tennis player. Susan has an 11-year-old daughter who also aspires to be an actress, and Dick, I think you have a special relationship with her. What is it?
Well, I was honored on 8 is Enough. Around the 4th year that we were on, Susan said, I'm going to have a baby, as you know, and I want you to be the godfather. And so that was a great honor, and I got a beautiful godchild, but I haven't seen her in 2 years. So
Susan, introduce her.
What?
Susan, introduce her.
Yes, Sarah, come on. You're not going to believe this, Dick.
Beautiful.
Oh, dear.
This is the question. As beautiful as your... Oh, gosh.
She looks
Look at those eyes.
just exactly like Mom.
This is a question for Dick Sargent. Dick, why do you think there's a difference between the acceptance of gays, like here in the New York theatrical community, as compared to L.A.? Here it's really fairly accepted in the theatrical community as far as stage, but not in TV and film.
Wouldn't you think that L.A. would be ahead of this instead of behind
they're not
it?
selling canned soup on the stage, you know.
Oh, you
the
think
whole
it's
difference
the
is the
sponsors?
sponsor level, I think, yeah.
Question.
Yes, Jim, I saw you running in the New York Marathon. I was just wondering, how'd you do?
I did pretty good for myself. You know, I ran 3:09, which is my personal best. So.
So.
I can't walk, but...
all these Van Pattens have to do athletics as well as act in show business, right?
Sally, I love your show. My question is to Aunt Esther. I think you look great, and on the show, you always displayed a big belief in God.
LaWanda.
LaWanda, on the show, you always displayed a big belief in God. Are you that way in real life?
Yes, I am. I'm a very religious person. I was raised that way. To be religious, because my whole family was religious, especially my mother. And that's, you know, why I could play the character so well. And Sally, I just want to say this. You've been surprising everybody on this show, and you really surprised me, and I got a surprise for you. Where is it? Hand me that bag thing. I got a surprise for you, girlfriend.
What does it say, LaWanda?
Take it to the Lord or else.
Take a break. We'll be right back. We'll start with you. Considering it's not polite to bite the hand that feeds you, I still think of the 70s as the golden age of television, and these are their stars. Thank you all for being with us.
Some members of our audience will receive, and a promotional fee has been provided by...
Milton Bradley Travel Games make great stocking stuffers. A lot of fun in a little size. The perfect stuff for stockings. Milton Bradley Travel Games.